You may wonder whether you should take additional food supplements to improve your performance on a football pitch. In this video, we are going to take a look at supplements that are recommended by FIFA. There are 4 football-relevant supplements that include caffeine, creatine, tyrosine, and beta-alanine. Let's first start with caffeine. One of the advantages of consuming caffeine is that it reduces the perception of fatigue, thus making it easier to sustain the 90 minutes of an exhausting game. It also stimulates reaction time and mental alertness, and is very good for the players who want to lose some weight. Regarding amount and time, a good practice is to consume 1 or 2 cups of coffee before the game, namely 3 hours or later before the kickoff. Also, if we compare Americano and espresso, research demonstrated that espresso appears to be slightly more beneficial in terms of football performance. There are also some considerations regarding caffeine intake. A very high dose might impair visual information processing and result in desensitization to caffeine. If you take a look at the chart, the blue curve corresponds to the endurance performance, and the red one to the visual information processing. As you see, high doses of caffeine improve endurance performance but essentially impair players' visual information processing. That's why 2 cups of Americano prior to the game appear to be a recommended amount that improves both endurance and visual information processing. The only exception here are the goalkeepers. For goalkeepers, visual information processing is essentially more important than endurance. That's why just 1 cup of coffee for a goalkeeper should be enough. Another concern is that the World Anti-Doping Agency is still monitoring the usage of caffeine, and might at any moment decide to exclude it from the list of allowed substances. Okay, that's what about caffeine. Now let's have a look at creatine supplement. First of all, creatine isn't something artificial, it's a natural compound occurring in meat and fish. The main advantage of creatine is that it enhances players' anaerobic power output, which makes it substantially easier to perform such actions as sprinting, shooting, and jumping. Creatine also increases muscle glycogen storage capacity and players' lean muscle mass. One more advantage is the importance of creatine for vegetarians who do not consume meat and fish. There are some considerations, of course. There are no adverse effects, but creatine loading may result in increase in body mass, which is due to intracellular water and glycogen accumulation. The next thing to consider is that creatine should not be consumed together with caffeine. There should be at least 3 hours between creatine and caffeine intake. Regarding the recommended amount and timing, consuming 3-5 capsules shortly before or after training is more advisable than long before or long after training. Okay, now let's have a look at the tyrosine supplement we already mentioned earlier. Tyrosine is a large amino acid found in dietary proteins and is the precursor of catecholamines, which are the hormones released in response to emotional or physical stress. The advantages of tyrosine include improvements in cognitive performance, namely in vigilance and choice reaction time. As mentioned earlier, tyrosine is very good for counteracting cold and high altitude, where it prevents coldness, sleepiness, discomfort, and headache. Tyrosine also reduces the number of adverse emotions, such as anxiety, confusion, and unhappiness. Okay, now let's have a look at our last supplement, which is beta-alanine. Beta-alanine is a naturally occurring amino acid found in meat, poultry, and fish. The main advantage of beta-alanine is that it buffers lactic acid, which is released after sprinting. Thus, it helps to improve players' repeated sprint ability. One thing to mention is that you might get a harmless sensation of a light tingling on your skin, which is called paresthesia. Just keep in mind that this is normal and beta-alanine has been proven to be a safe supplement for football players. Okay, that's it regarding supplements. Stay tuned and see you in a while.